Now, he's been called the most hated Jew in Israel by his critics, but to his supporters, he's a courageous historian who's carefully documented Israel's crimes against the Palestinians. Dr. Ilan Pappé is a professor from Haifa University and the author of a controversial new book, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine. As you can see, he's in our central London studios. We're also joined from there by Professor Ephraim Karsh, who's from King's College in London and has accused fellow Israeli academics, like Professor Pappé, of fabricating Israeli history. Very good morning to you both. Professor Pappé, start with you first. What makes you think that the Israelis are guilty of ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians?
Well, the Israeli policies in 1948 and Israeli policies since 1948, including current Israeli policies, are aimed at ethnically cleansing the Palestinians from their homelands. And there are very clear legal, moral and political definitions for ethnic cleansing that is defined as a crime against humanity. And I think the Israeli policies really are such acts against the Palestinian people. So it's both historical chapters and current chapters that bring a lot of evidence to show that Israel as a state and as a society intends to uproot the Palestinians and dispossess them from their homeland, a project that has started in the late 19th century and continues to this very day.
Professor Karsh, what do you make of that?
I think it's a travesty of history. The Israelis or the Jews didn't try to ethnically cleanse the Arabs in 1948. The opposite was the truth. The United Nations decided to partition Palestine into two states, one Jewish, one Arabs. One Jewish accepted it. The Arabs rejected it, initiated a war of annihilation against the Jews. 3 years after people learned about the Holocaust, they failed and most of them ran away. Now, as for now, there has not been any ethnic cleansing going on for decades. I remember Dr. Pappé and some of his colleagues, for example, published a warning on the eve of the Iraq war 3 years ago, stating that Israel would use the war in order to expel tens of thousands of Palestinians. Nothing of the sort happened. I think it's a travesty, and it's not based on facts, it's based on fiction.
Professor Pappé, your words, your books have been condemned by people who say the facts that you use are distorted, that you actually advocate Israel's destruction. Where do you find your evidence in history that others don't?
Well, first of all, unfortunately, most of my Israeli colleagues never question the facts. The debate in Israel is nowadays about the morality of ethnic cleansing, not about the very fact. Very few Israeli scholars deny that the Palestinians were dispossessed in 1948. Very few of the Israeli human rights organizations deny that an ethnic cleansing is taking place in the greater Jerusalem area and around the apartheid wall as we talk. The evidence is abundant, both in the archives for the historical record and from the reports of the United Nations and the human rights organization on the ground. The debate in Israel, by the way, is not about the fact. The debate in Israel is about the morality. Mr. Lieberman, who is going to join Mr. Olmert's government, is openly advocating ethnic cleansing. So Israel is a state that doesn't find ethnic cleansing repugnant morally and finds it very effectively as a political policy.
Okay, let's talk about the present, Professor Karsh.
Can I interject for a second?
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I think Dr. Pappé wants to have it both ways. On one hand, he presents himself as ostracized by Israeli society. On the other hand, he just stated at the moment that his views are quite accepted in Israel. Nobody disputes the facts, supposedly. Nobody denies that Israel embarked on ethnic cleansing, etc. I think he has to come on one side of the aisle.
Yeah, we'll come on one side of the aisle then. Even Condoleezza Rice, the US Secretary of State, says that Israel's occupation there is responsible for the daily humiliation of Palestinians, and that view is gaining credence around the world more and more.
It does indeed, and I think that if you read the report by David Shearer, the United Nations representative on the ground, that said that Israel intentionally humiliates, dispossesses the Palestinians in the occupied territories, it's quite amazing. There is no debate anymore about the nature of the Israeli policies towards the Palestinians. The only question that remains open is why the world is silent about these policies. Why isn't Israel treated as South Africa was treated? This is a rogue state that pursues criminal policies against the Palestinians. Your correspondents on the ground know it. Other network correspondents on the ground know it. The big question is, who does this allow the governments from taking action against a state that destabilizes world stability and does not allow us to all live in much better life, have much better life as Israelis and Palestinians on the ground?
Professor Kash, I'll let you come back in on that one.
Again, I mean, I don't think it has any relation to reality. I mean, the South African example, I mean, Dr. Pappé is a native of Haifa, as I am. And Haifa has always been a joint city in which Arabs and Jews live together. There is no segregation whatsoever in Israel. So all this South Africa is, again, a travesty, used to demonize Israel. Now, as for the territories that Israel occupied in 1967, may I remind you that in accordance with the Oslo Accord, Israel vacated the populated areas of these territories about 10 years ago. In January 1996, Gaza they had even vacated earlier, with the exception of a few settlements which were vacated in 2005. Now Arafat came to these territories, and during the years that he controlled the territories and during the years that Israeli occupation was not enforced on these territories, he established the terrorist infrastructure. Now, if you look at the 20 years preceding Oslo, about 400 Israelis were killed in terrorist activities. In 10 years since Oslo, 4 times as many Israelis were murdered. It's not the occupation that breeds terrorism, it's the ending of the occupation about 10 years ago.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine, the book from Dr. Ilan Pappé is out. Dr. Ilan Pappé, thank you very much.
Thank you.
To Ephraim Kash. Thank you both.
Thank you.